I didn't like it one little bit. Yeah, fuck. Apologies. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. May we all have a vision now and then of a world where every neighbour is a friend. I thought that was quite nice words to begin today, my loves. Words, of course, that come from ABBA's song, Happy New Year. Anyway, here we are. I thought I'd begin, as usual, with a look back at the year that we've all suffered through. 2024. All the books I've read. I know I've reviewed many of them on here already, but there's quite a few there that I didn't review, so I might pop those out as well. I'm going to get all of them out. 33 books I think I read this time. I'll try to do it very quickly. It's still going to be half an hour or so. Just spent the morning clearing the mould off all my walls. You might have known over the last few weeks or so, it's gradually getting darker and darker, black mould all over the place. So yeah, that was a lovely thing to do this morning. Covered in bleach, stinks to high heaven in here. And I've got toothache. Anyway, let's get on with it. Okay, let's begin at the beginning. Back in January, the first book I read was Clive Barker's Coldheart Canyon from 2001. This was a flawed book, in my opinion. It had lots of interesting stuff, particularly the room that was covered in tiles, thousands of tiles that transported you into a hellish realm. It was very weak in places, but as ever, Clive Barker's writing, it's so beautiful that you wade your way through it quite happily, but yeah, it was flawed. I gave this one 3 out of 5. So, riding on the coattails of Coldheart Canyon came 8 Fantasms and Magics by Jack Vance from 1969. This was a collection of 8 short stories, my very first experience of his writing. And I absolutely loved it. Some brilliant ideas, fantastic world building. The first story actually blew my mind. It was about a kind of a war between two, on the surface, kind of medieval kingdoms, perhaps. But we soon discover that this is in the far future and they've kind of regressed to a more barbaric existence. And they're using a form of voodoo against each other. Absolutely beautiful. I gave this 4 out of 5. Okay, so with my taste for Vance whetted, I then tried this one on for size, The Blue World from 1966. Think of this as a kind of proto-Waterworld without Kevin Costner in the mix. There were problems with this, but I really enjoyed it, especially the world building. A world that's almost entirely water, as far as we know, and civilization eking out an existence on these giant lily pad constructions. Wonderful ideas about how the different communities communicate with one another using these towers and a system of lights and patterns, and all of them plagued by this beast, this horrible sea creature that's quite intelligent actually, and they're having to feed him to pacify him. But anyway, yeah, I really liked this one. I gave this one 4 out of 5. But I was pushing my luck with Vance because the third one was The Languages of Pao. Pao from 1958. I wasn't quite as keen on this one. I can't even remember a great deal about it. I think it was, as a world where there wasn't war, but there were pacifists, I think, and then there were invading entities, and I don't remember, but language played a part. My memory is completely shot, but anyway, I remember one thing. I gave it 2 stars out of 5. I didn't like it one little bit. Okay, so next came Beyond Tomorrow from 1976. This was a collection of short stories, or science fiction short stories, that was published over in Australia. And so basically the Australians apparently missed out on much of the golden age of science fiction due to the imbalance between the strength of the American versus the Australian dollar. And so this was to reacquaint science fiction readers with that missed era of science fiction. I discovered some quite interesting short stories in this one. I think the lion's share I wasn't that interested in. But I read my first James Blish there. I quite enjoyed that one, a kind of post-apocalyptic story. And Roger Zelazny is one of his, very short one. And there was a Philip K. Dick one, I remember. That was good. Anyway, there we are. That's about all I can remember. I gave this one, if I scrutinise my script here, 3 out of 5. So that's not too bad. Yeah, I think there were gems in there, but it was, yeah, there was a lot of crap in there as well. Okay, look at this fellow. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton from 1990. I've reviewed this on my channel, so a lot of these I've reviewed. You can check them out if you want more in-depth reviews where I actually remember what I'm talking about. But everyone knows about Jurassic Park. But most of us experienced this through the films. I know I did. I didn't really like the first film. Although at the time I was blown away by the special effects and the idea. The concept of bringing these dinosaurs back from the dead through blood in mosquitoes and other insects and trapped in amber and all of that nonsense. Wonderful stuff. I didn't like the film for a number of reasons. One of them being those damn fucking kids. Mischievous little buggers that can survive anything. Absolutely anything. 10,000 volts through that boy. Fucking doesn't blink an eye. He's just keeps on ticking. I thought the book might be a bit more realistic. I thought the children would bite the dust instantly and leave me feeling satisfied. But alas, no. These children are just as annoying. Although the boy in the book is less annoying than the girl, or vice versa. I can't remember. Anyway, I didn't like the book at all, really. I'm afraid. I gave this 2 out of 5. Get out of here. Okay, then we've got White Wing, or Shite Wing, as I was calling it readily at the time. I fucking hated this book. So it's kind of like Battlestar Galactica, but with polygamy and, you know, polyamorous groupings, I suppose you could call it. Fucking awful. Bored the tits off me. Came out the same year as Back to the Future, the film Back to the Future, 1985, and all of that. But this is a blot on history, I think. I didn't really enjoy this at all. I gave this 1 star out of 5. Yeah, fuck. Apologies. Okay, so things got slightly better now. So this is The Owl Service by Alan Garner from 1967. Really wonderful kind of children's, not really children, young adult book, I suppose. Using folklore, manifesting kind of mythological things in the here and now, set in contemporary 1967 or thereabouts, in the Welsh valleys. Lots of layers to this book, really intelligently written, and not assuming that the children are going to be almost brain dead reading this kind of stuff. They're assuming children are intelligent enough to appreciate things that are interesting, complex, make you think, open your mind. Yeah, really, really wonderful stuff. Quite haunting, a little bit eerie, a little bit scary, a little bit strange. I gave this 4 out of 5. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Okay, with that short story that I read of James Blish in Beyond Tomorrow in mind, I next selected this Blish number. Now, I was going to review these on my channel. I never did, so this won't be a review. It's going to be, I can barely remember anything about it, but I didn't like it. This is from 1952, Jack of Eagles. As far as I remember, this is about a man that's kind of evolving into a superhuman entity, or still human, but able to do various magical feats. But the whole tone of the novel I thought was odd. It was attempting to be humorous, perhaps, or glib throughout. And so I just really didn't care for this story whatsoever. Interesting ideas, but let down by the execution. Or perhaps it's just of its time and I can't really get close to it myself with my modern sensibilities. But anyway, I gave this 2 out of 5. Swine. Now this next one, Raven, Swordmistress by Richard Kirk from 1978. Now, I got this book because there's a titty on the cover. That's as deep as I get sometimes in choosing what I read next. But it wasn't really. This was based on a quest that I went to find this image of this woman with an exposed breast that I found in my uncle's bedroom once. All dodgy stuff. I know it sounds dodgy as hell, but it was hellish trying to find this image. But eventually I did. It took me fucking hours. But it was by the Greek artist Chris Archiles. And yes, it sent me on this rabbit hole, down this rabbit hole. And I bought these 5 books, which tend to be, all of them usually have a bit of titty on the cover or an exposed arse. Different times. These books were also very rare and very expensive, but I bought them. Anyway, so this is Sword and Sorcery Fair. The cover, of course, was also inspiration for Babushka video for Kate Bush. The story itself isn't that good, really. The writing is okay. It's trying to be more than it is. It's trying to uplift what is actually quite a basic story with not much going on. There are some sex scenes in there engineered for those of you who bought the book because there's an exposed breast on there. But other than that, not much going on. There's another 4 books in the series. I haven't read any of them yet. I started the second one, but it was a bit too much. I gave this 3 out of 5. Not too bad. Excuse me. After the disappointment that was Jack of Eagles, I decided to give Blish another bite of the cherry with The Star Dwellers from 1961. Now, this was a bit better. I would say there was that same, the way humour was attempting to, it was written in an almost humorous way. But it detracted at times from what was going on. I prefer books to be slightly more serious, really, if it's about a serious topic, because this really on the surface is an interesting idea about aliens that are inhabiting human drives within their spaceships, in their kind of, fusion reactors. They're living in there, but some of them are blowing up ships, and then some of them are able to cohabit and form a kind of relationship, a mutually beneficial relationship. I thought it was really interesting, some good ideas, but again, the delivery let it down, I thought. I gave this 3 out of 5, so I'm not going to punch this one out of the way. This is going to be a long video. Apologies. Okay, the next one I read was this, Eating Robots by Stephen Oram from 2017. It was a collection of his short stories, some of them very, very short indeed. There's quite a few of them that was just a page. So kind of almost like a bit of poetry, perhaps, or just, I don't know, one-liners really. This was his accumulated works from some kind of symposium he did. It was a curator, or not curator, artist in residence, writer in residence, that kind of thing. And so this is, I don't really like it when writers do this. They cobble shit together that they've done for other people, bring it all together. There was a kind of cohesiveness there. They were all similar types of story. Think Black Mirror, that kind of stuff. But there was a lot of overlap. There were lots of stories that were telling the same, portraying the same ideas and things like that. So, and it was a thin book. It was bugger all in there. But saying that, there were a few stories that I really liked. So I gave this 3 out of 5 just so that I wasn't punching it out there. Okay, look at this fella. It's Bob Shaw. And Who Goes Here? A title I've never really liked. It didn't make me want to read the book even, but it was fantastic. This was from 1977, the year Star Wars came out. And this, for me, I mean, this was funny. I mean, here Bob Shaw was using humour really well, actually. Something similar to Catch-22. It reminded me of that. Quite intelligently done. Made me laugh a couple of times, the descriptions of people in there, and kind of exposing the futility of war, and but also there was time travel. Wonderful stuff. Really, really wonderful. Highly recommend this one. Okay, here we go. There's another one, The Malaise by David Turton. This is quite a recent one. This is from 2018. It's about a kind of a plague that affects humanity through their virtual reality headgear kind of thing, a kind of virtual reality thing. It makes everyone go mad basically and start killing each other. So it's a kind of a zombie apocalypse thing brought on by technology. Absolute crap. I didn't like it one little bit. 2 out of 5. I suppose it was a kind of an original idea in some ways. The execution was terrible and there were lots of problems with it. So anyway, fuck off. Okay, next it's Keith Laumer's The Glory Hole. I mean Glory Game from 1973. This was okay. I mean, it was apparently it was based on some historical war. It was an incident. No, wait a minute. I'm misremembering here. I think it's based on an incident from the Vietnam War, but I can't vouch for that anymore. It was interesting to a certain extent, but when I remember reading it and thinking, shit, this seems a lot like it's from the 50s, perhaps. I'm just surprised myself by seeing that it's from 1973. It seems older than that. Anyway, I gave it 2 out of 5, and I didn't like it. Okay, not having much run of good luck here in terms of reading here. And it didn't get any better when I tried my third and final James Blish, the Quincunx of Time. From originally published in a science fiction magazine back in 1954, and re-released in 1973, or rewritten, I think, just so that it could be its own book. Again, this was a very thin, kind of like as thick as the veneer on a cheap table, perhaps. Fantastic cover. I mean, I love the cover, and that's why I read it, despite my disappointment of the previous 2 Blishes. But I read the foreword and it talked about the fact that this is originally derived from a short story, and the title of the short story gives away the whole bloody thing. So I already knew what was going on even before I quarter way through. It was very disappointing, but it wasn't a brilliant idea anyway. Kind of about getting communications about the future. So humanity using this information to police everyone. So there's no crime anymore because they know things happened before. A bit like Minority Report, I suppose. But using relativism, time dilation, something about that. I can't remember now. But there's something that pertains to the communication where they find all this stuff. And that's the title of the original short story. Anyway, I didn't like it. Boring, kind of boring, but also low effort. Trying to capitalize on something you've done in the past, and it's not really worth elevating that far. Anyway, that was 2 out of 5. That also gets to fuck off. Okay, bring this next chap down. We all know Eando Binder on this channel. We love it. This is Menace of the Sorcerers from 1969. Not a patch on Night of the Sorcerers, but it's not that. It's terrible, obviously. But it's fun. It's fun. It's so bad it's good. It's one of those kind of ones. I gave this 3 brown stars out of 5. We get to see Fane jumping all over the place. Judo, kick, punch, chop, all that shit. Beating the living daylights out of aliens. Saving the world single-handedly. And winning the affections of an alien beauty by the name of Mirabelle. With red hair, purple eyes, and one would only assume cracking tits. But anyway, this is what Fane's like. He's a bit of a monster, really, but we all love Fane. He's got something, and if we didn't have people like Fane, the world would end pretty much every single day. I gave this 3 brown stars. I've already said that. So, right, yeah, I don't know what time of the year this was, but I'd been wading through book after book of absolute shite. And then, friend of the channel, Billy, of the Copper Vault, recommended this, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, originally published in 2006. Now, this, I haven't read fantasy for a very long time, quite a long time now, other than that sword and sorcery, raven nonsense. This was a cracking yarn. Brilliant characters, very imaginative, really interesting story, slowly building. I haven't yet read the next one, excuse me, but I will do. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I gave this one 5 out of 5. Absolutely cracking. Okay, on the next one here, upon the recommendation, I believe, of Nucky Nelson, he said about Freaky Deaky, Elmore Leonard's novel from 1988. Tarantino's kind of muse, I suppose you could say. Wonderful story about someone... well, what is it about? I can't remember now. Well, a wonderful amalgamation of different characters, different timelines, or different perspectives, rather, about extorting money from a rich man and his brother. But, I mean, that's dumbing it right down because I can't really remember everything about it now. But we have a policeman who's on the case. Every character is really interesting, actually, and the language in it is really clever. And again, this book made me laugh. I didn't know anything about the association with Tarantino, but this is a Tarantino film in book form. So brilliant. I gave this, again, 5 out of 5. Wonderful stuff. Okay, next on the agenda is The Mouth of Hell by Wil Waw, a friend of the channel. This is a novella, a short story, really. A bit longer than a short story. Post-apocalyptic zombie story on the surface, but this has deeper depths, and the stuff that's going on in the background or in the protagonist's head, an unreliable narrator, one would have to say at this point, is really dark indeed. I thought it was really wonderfully written, brilliant ideas. The zombies themselves, wonderful description of that, reminded me of Stephen King. But where it goes is really interesting. It actually goes to a point that's Lovecraftian towards the end as well. Yeah, really good stuff. I gave this 4 out of 5. I had some reservations, very minor issues with it. I can't quite remember what it was now. But anyway, Will's got back to me. We're in communication quite regularly, actually. We write letters in an email way. And yeah, he's revised the thing. So I can only assume this is a tip-top condition now. 5 out of 5, I imagine. But yeah, I haven't read the new version. But it's worth checking out because it was brilliant anyway. Yeah, try that out. Okay, so the next one I read was Patrick Tilley's Amtrak Wars, the first one, Cloud Warrior from 1983. Now, I was going to do an overview on here of all 6 books. I read the whole lot. I may still do it, I'm not sure, but I'll try and do it in a nutshell now. I gave the first book 4 out of 5 because I thought it was really quite a wonderful idea. Set 1,000 years after an apocalyptic nuclear war, and how the remnants of humanity are existing in that setting. Excuse me. Yes, first book, great. Now, as the books proceed, I got really annoyed with them. So I'm not going to rate each of them individually, but I would say as a whole series, we're looking at between 2 and 3 stars. I mean, I'm not going to give it the heave-ho because there's some really interesting stuff here, but there are a lot of things with Patrick Tilley's writing that I get very frustrated with. The attention to detail is incredible. The world building, incredible as well. But sometimes you don't need to know how many screws are in the side of a panel that's underneath the seat of some fucking thing, whatever. I mean, the descriptions go crazy sometimes, and I got fucking bored sometimes. Pages and pages of description. I mean, there's that thing, isn't it? Show, don't tell. This one tells you everything. Every fucking thing. There is an element of mystery, potentially. There's lots of mystery about the way the Federation, the kind of the American or North American remnants, started by the last president, for example. Some kind of I won't say too much. It's too easy to spoil it. But yeah, how this started. There's lots that you find out. But the problem is, the biggest problem is, I didn't realise until I finished the last book that it was incomplete. He never finished the series, and unfortunately he's since passed away. There was potentially one last trilogy, 3 more books to complete the series. I can only assume that Patrick Tilley was bored out of his fucking brain writing this stuff, because it kind of comes out in the writing, I think, that it's just going through the motions, really. And it's so glacially slow that, I mean, I know it was really popular back in the day, and there was a full colour illustrated companion with all the different vehicles and things like that. I mean, in terms of the scope of the world building, it's really incredible. But the story itself, it goes all over the place. I mean, there's a section about the Japanese occupied east coast of North America that's just ludicrous. I mean, for me, I think he just wanted to write a Japanese samurai story and thought, yeah, fuck it, I'll stick it in there. But anyway, yeah, iffy. Next was Roger Zelazny's This Immortal from 1965. Now, yes, I quite liked this one. I gave this one 4 out of 5. I can't remember a great deal about it now because I'm just doing this off the cuff. However, yeah, anyway, look at the review. I reviewed this. I'm just trying to get through this as quickly as I can. So my mind's gone blank about this book, but I gave it 4 out of 5. Deal with it. Okay, right. This was a beauty. So this is Vincent King's Candyman. Candyman from 1971. I was going to review this. I didn't. I probably won't now, but I'll try and do a little bit about it now. I thought this was really wonderful for the time that it was written as well. Some brilliant ideas about this central character who's known as Candyman. Now, this is in the advanced stages of the decline of humanity. Humans have just become kind of unthinking automatons almost. They're just going about their days doing fuck all, basically. Everything's done for them. Everything's automated, but it's also crumbling. And the infrastructure of where people live it's constantly in a state of renewal, but it's also, it's like as if the machinery that's keeping everything going is in decline as well. So it's quite a bleak novel. There is hope. And the central character is really interesting, especially when you find out who he is. That's all I'll say. But yeah, this is a rare gem. Vincent King didn't really write many books. As far as I know, he only published 4 novels. I've got 2 of them. I'll talk about another one a little bit later. But yeah, he did a very strange... Well, I've got another one as well. I haven't read that one. And the 4th one is, what is it? Time Snake and Super Clown. It's an ultra rare book of his that's by all accounts completely bonkers. And I can't get my hands on it because the cheapest I can find it on eBay for a copy that looks like it's gone through the tail end of a donkey is around 36 quid, something like that. But yeah, it tends to go for around 40 quid. But there we are. Vincent King, worth a look. I give it 4 out of 5. Okay, so right, at this point I thought, let's get back onto a bit of Vance, The Grey Prince from 1974. I was going to review this, but then I didn't bother because I thought, I can't be asked. Now, the titular Grey Prince of the story doesn't feature very prominently in the book at all. In fact, hardly at all. His influence on the story is minuscule, I would say. So I'm not quite sure why that was used as the title. So again, world building is excellent. Some of it, I think, was unnecessary. There's a place in the north of this planet, which is like a lost colony of Earth, basically. Humanity's differentiated into different kind of clans, I suppose. The Grey Prince is of one of them. There's barbarism. The ones in the north ride around on these kind of boats, but with wheels. So they traverse these great flat plains on these boats. I thought that was completely unnecessary. Didn't have much bearing on the story, but was an interesting idea. So I think that sometimes that comes into his work. Just ideas that he's just taking it out of his head. It's really interesting stuff. But yeah, anyway, an interesting revelation at the end of this story. And yeah, a brilliant twist, actually. But there we are. I gave this 3 out of 5. Okay, so next is James White's Underkill from 1979. Now, this was a shit book. I'm not going to make any bones about that. Set in a hospital, primarily in the future. The interference of some alien race far away, influencing Earth, trying to kill humanity off. And the good doctor, can't remember his name, can't be asked to remember his name, has got to save the day with his wife, who's a nurse. And yeah, men rule, okay? Men are the best, apparently. So yeah, Underkill, very underwhelming kill. I gave this 1 out of 5. Fuck off! Okie dokie. So yeah, next I thought let's read a bit more King, a bit more Vincent King. This is Light a Last Candle from 1969. So this came out before Candyman. And again, this is a post-apocalyptic setting. Very bleak, this one. It's bleaker and more despondent, more disturbing. No hope, little hope, I should say, in this one. And again, so this is about, it appears to be about an invasion. So an alien invasion, and we're quite a way down the track. Humanity's largely been killed off, but there are vestiges of humanity that have been infected by the aliens. And so they're augmented in various ways, kind of carapaces and things like that. They've been altered and they serve their overlord, masters, these alien ones. We follow the protagonist, who's an untouched, unsullied human, who's quite an interesting chap, actually, and he's really good at killing aliens. And so we follow his path, his interaction with the other humans that have been changed, and to try and bring about an overthrow of this alien occupation. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I preferred Candyman just because I preferred the main character. However, this was also very interesting with a really nice twist towards the end. I gave this 4 out of 5. Yeah, so at this point, following that book, I read the rest of the Amtrak books back to back, and it almost ended me. But anyway, I'm glad I got through the slog that was the Amtrak Wars, but very disappointed that there isn't an ending. But to be honest, by the end, I couldn't give a shit whether there was or any. Anyway, I probably wouldn't have read any further. But there we are. So the penultimate book of the year was Harry Harrison's Plague from Space, recommended to me by Crichton, my friend Crichton down in Argentina. He recommended this because it was potentially one of those so bad it's kind of good kind of books. I mean, like he said, it is quite an enjoyable read, but yeah, it does have some problems. Sexism being one of those. But this is from I didn't write 65, so yeah, it's of its time. Men rule. And so this one is a doctor again. So who knew there were so many books, science fiction, retro science fiction, vintage science fiction books that had a medical bent to it, where this doctor is formerly a captain in the army. And so what happens? Yeah, a long lost spaceship from Mars. Fuck me. A mission from Jupiter arrives. They assume the ship's it's been lost for 2 years. It lands in JFK Airport in New York. Everyone's dead on board, but one man staggers out, and he's carrying an alien plague. There we are. That's pretty much all you need to know. Rip-roaring yarn. Kind of boys' adventure book, really. A lot of action, a lot of swooning women. Well, no, there's the love interest of the good doctor, who is a really intelligent doctor in her own right, but of course she's not a patch on the doctor who's the man, motherfucker. It's one of those things. I quite enjoyed it despite that, but I still gave it 2 out of 5, so it gets the old heave-ho. And the last book is, of course, Absolution by Jeff Vandermeer. This is the last one I reviewed on this channel, actually, so you don't really have to listen to me do this. You can look at the review if you want, or not bother. I gave this 4 out of 5. So, yeah, the original Southern Reach trilogy was self-contained. For me, it was perfect. It didn't need an extra one, but along came this extra one 10 years later, and it's quite lovely. I gave it 1 less star than the full 5 that I gave the other 3 books, just because I think this could be a problem here, that it's so many years since I read the last books that I probably forgot. I think I forgot some pertinent information. And so a lot of my confusion early on was probably due to that. But yeah, it's really, really good. You get to find out a lot of stuff that you're probably pondering over in the first trilogy, but it doesn't give you everything. It just gives you a tease here and there, a tweak of a nipple, if you will. But there we are. That's the year done. I have no idea how long this has taken. It's taken me a long time. I've got to edit the devil now. Apologies if it's overly long. But there we are. That was the year. A lot of shit that I had to wade through. I'm going to try and be a slightly more discerning in the books I read this year, just because I know that I'm getting towards the end of my life here. I think when you reach the age of 45, I'm over halfway through now, you start thinking, shit, how many books left have I got in me to read? And I read quite slowly anyway. I mean, 33 books in a year for me is extraordinary. I mean, I don't normally read that many. So yeah, I could probably be very bleak and work out how many books I'm capable of reading at the outset, but I think that would be too depressing. But at the same time, I do like stumbling across books that I've absolutely no knowledge of, and so I'll still be doing that, but I'll pick thinner ones just so, because a lot of them are shite. I don't want to spend too long like Amtrak Wars, for example. I mean, it wasn't that bad. A mate of mine, Brian, lent them to me. I've got them there. I'm going to be returning them to you soon. They weren't that bad, but I think it was just a bit much to wade through for me. And so, yeah, it took a fair chunk of my life away, which I resent. Anyway, let's leave it there. Going forward, my loves, it's just going to be the same old shit from me. It's going to be book reviews. I'll try and do more of them. There's more wizard stuff I'm going to be doing. I've got the wine. I still haven't sorted the wine out. I need to bottle it and taste it. So I'll be doing that. What else? Scratch cards, all that crap. Painting, writing. Yes, I'm going to be working on a new... I don't even know what to call it, really. It's kind of like an audio book. A short one, like these short stories I've been doing. So it's a kind of short audio play, perhaps, like a drama. Because it's not really a story. I'll probably write it as a story as well, just to see. But I think it's more about spoken word. And so there'll be a certain amount of ad-libbing, perhaps. I've been thinking about it every night as I go to sleep. So I think I know what it's going to be now. And I'll be working on that perhaps in the coming weeks. But I'll try and keep everything else going at the same time. I've also got a really bad tooth, as I told you. It's aching right now. Tomorrow morning I'm having the thing hoiked out. I'm not looking forward to that. I've never had a tooth actually pulled out with pliers before. But luckily I don't have the demonic German dentist that I had last time. The one that was... she injected me and the bloody needle wasn't even in the gum properly. And so it all spilled out into my mouth. She told me to swallow it. Can you believe it? I spat it out. and then she started drilling away at my... I told this story before. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. She said, "Oh, hold your hand out, right? So if it starts hurting a little, just raise your hand or lower it if it's not hurting." And my hand went right. I almost smacked her in the face. Of course, she didn't put it quite like I did. She was. I'm not going to do a German accent, but she was severe. Let's put it that way. I thought that if I dissented in any way, she would have probably knocked me on the tooth with her elbow. Try to finish me off, perhaps. It had that kind of torture table atmosphere about it. I could see the nurse also look worried, as though I might be towards the end of my life there, lying there. Anyway, fucking hell, I'm you know what I'm doing. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me for the past year. And and hopefully a lot of you will stick around a bit longer. We went over 1,000 subscribers, and then it went right back down again. I think I lost 20 subscribers, almost 20 subscribers. I think it's all mustard shit, isn't it? All fairy dust. It doesn't really mean anything. But I know that I have a dedicated group of you, perhaps numbering maybe 20 or 30 of you, who are always, interacting. And I know there's a lot of you that watch and you don't interact. That's absolutely fine. Some of you message me personally or whatever. It's good to hear some feedback. I was talking to my cousin, or messaged my cousin the other day. It's nice to get something back sometimes, but yeah, there's people there. You're there. Thank you very much for following me, and hopefully you'll stick with me a bit longer into the new year. But go your merry way if you wish. Don't stick with me out of pity. Anyway, let's leave it there. I'm thinking of ending it with a song. I don't know if I will. I'll do a bit of a song. Prepare yourself.
Okay, my loves, prepare your tits for this. Now, I couldn't sing Happy New Year, so I'm doing this one instead. The winner takes it all. It's quite sad, but let's all be happy. It's a new year. Don't be sad. Stay positive. And if you can, keep old Jim on the level. That'd be lovely. Thank you. I don't want to talk about the things we've gone through, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. I've played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. Nothing more to say, no more ace to play. The winner takes it all, the loser standing small beside the victory. That's her destiny. I was in your arms, thinking I belonged there. I figured it made sense, building me a fence, building me a home, thinking I'd be strong there. But I was a fool, playing by the rules. The gods may throw dice, their minds as cold as ice. And someone way down here loses someone dear. The winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. It's simple and it's plain, why should I complain? Tell me, does she kiss? Kiss I used to kiss you. Does it feel the same when she calls your name? Somewhere deep inside, you must know I miss you. But what can I say? Rules must be obeyed. The judges will decide. The likes of me abide. Spectators of the show, always staying low. The game is on again. A lover or a friend, a big thing or a small, the winner takes it all. I don't want to talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand you've come to shake my hand. I apologize if it makes you feel bad, seeing me so tense, no self-confidence. The winner takes it all. The winner takes it all.